What is up, guys? Rick, Saint14 fanboy Kackis here. Thank you so much for stopping by, and today we're going to be taking a close look at all of the brand new Trials of Osiris weapons, discussing their different perk rolls as well as their PvE and PvP god rolls, so you guys know which weapons to go for in this brand new game mode. And so, let's get started. Now, I did make a video a while ago showcasing the original Destiny 1 set of Trials weapons because Bungie said that they are returning, and I was right on the money. This is a list of all of the original House of Wolves Trials weapons with some slight changes. Of course, they have random rolls now. Some have been moved up in archetypes, but if you are a D1 vet, you're going to be very familiar with these weapons. Let's start here with the Scholor Legendary Kinetic Scout Rifle. Now, this weapon belongs to the highest damaging, slowest shooting 150 RPM archetype. And taking a look at the perks here, well, we have the pretty much usual assortment of barrels and then ammo and mag attachments, but moving on to the first perk slot, we have, well, full auto trigger system. I'm a big fan of this perk on scout rifles. It eliminates human error and it lets you get that optimal time to kill all the time. There are some other interesting options. Opening shot is generally a good perk, but I don't think you'll need it on a gun with this much range. And then quick draw is always a good option for those people who love those really snappy weapons. Moving on to the second perk slot, we do have no distractions, which is going to lessen your flinch, letting you hit your shots, important with especially this archetype of scout rifle. Vorpal weapon is an interesting choice to combat supers, and then you have snapshot sights. Again, that snappy weapon is going to be capable here, especially when you have snapshot and quick draw. But then we have something new. This is a brand new perk that only spawns on Trials of Osiris weapons. It's called Celerity, and it says, gain the following effects while you are the last living member of your fire team. Increased target acquisition, increased handling and reload speed, and reduced flinch from incoming fire. So, certainly in a Trials of Osiris environment when it's elimination, someone is always, every round, going to be the last man standing. Maybe it's you, and if you do have this perk active, it's pretty good, especially increased target acquisition and reduced flinch. Those two things are going to help you win a gunfight where otherwise maybe you wouldn't. With that being said, unless you're the last man standing, you have a perk that does literally nothing. Like Snapshot Sights is active all the time. No Distractions is active all the time. If you're counting on being the last man standing all the time for your perk to be active, I'm not 100% sure it's necessarily worth it. With that being said, if none of the other perks look that amazing, this is a great option for a Trials dedicated weapon. So, in my opinion, this doesn't really have a good PvE role per se, but for PvP, I think you're looking for either full auto, potentially quick draw, and then you're combining it with no distractions, snapshot, or celerity. Now, moving on from there, we have a weapon that's gonna make waves in the meta. It's the Astral Horizon Legendary Kinetic Shotgun. Now, this belongs to the aggressive frame archetype, highest damage, lowest rate of fire, 55 rounds per minute, so stuff like the Mindbender's Ambition, Absolute Crucible All-Star belong to this archetype. It's widely considered the best archetype for PvP, and the perks for this weapon are absolutely disgusting. Firstly, in the barrels, we do have classics like Rifled Barrel and Full Choke to help extend the range. I think Rifled Barrel is probably going to be your best bet. Then in that second slot, we do have another shotgun all-star with accurized rounds, which is just going to straight increase your range again. Now, with the potential range nerfs that hit the game recently, you do also have assault mag, which is going to increase your rate of fire, help you get that backup shot off faster than your opponent. Another great option here. In the first perk slot, we have some top tier perks. Firstly, Slide Shot. Sliding partially reloads this weapon's magazine and temporarily boosts range and stability. Range is really what you're looking for. And then we have another top tier perk, quick draw, so you can draw this weapon extremely fast. Generally, the Mindbender with quick draw and slide shot was the utter god roll. But you have the second tier of perks and there's more good options. Celerity is present as well, but we also have, I'm looking for, opening shot. Improved accuracy and range on the opening shot of an attack. Now the important thing is that even though range has been dialed in with shotguns, perks that affect range are generally going to be more efficient and more effective than just increasing the range stat. So I think the absolute utter god roll that you're going to see a lot in the Crucible is got to be Rifled Barrel combined with accurized rounds, maybe Assault Mag, and then quick draw with opening shot. That's the role I'm going for, but frankly, if you switch around some of these perks, Celerity over opening shot, maybe slide shot, opening shot, it's a great option as well. This is definitely one of the better weapons in this loot pool. However, we do have to move on to another Trials weapon, the Eye of Soul Legendary Kinetic Sniper Rifle. This belongs to the 90 rounds per minute adaptive frame archetype, and unfortunately, this was pretty heavily nerfed with this season. It's not going to be able to one-shot headshot supers anymore, with some exceptions, and we're actually going to find an exception when we take a look at the perks. So, like always, the usual kind of assortment of things. I would maybe recommend Alloy Magazine or Flared Magwell to help with the reload. In that first perk slot, we have the Utter Sniper PvP All-Star Snapshot Sights. Faster aim down sights time. This is nearly a requirement on PvP snipers, and it is present. Don't even bother with anything else here. In that second perk category, we have a lot of good choices. So we do have Vorpal Weapon, which could somewhat negate the nerf that this archetype just received and potentially let you actually one-shot headshot snipers again. In fact, this is almost certain to be able to do that. Then we have Celerity, another option here, and in that same vein as Vorpal Weapon, we do have Box Breathing. So if you aim this weapon for a short period of time without firing, it grants a bonus range and precision damage. So that is also going to let you deal with supers. So you know the Dawnblade guy is going to come around a corner, so you aim down sights, get Box Breathing, get that extra damage, then hit him and hopefully take him out, whereas otherwise you wouldn't be doing enough damage. And so, again, no PvE god roll, but the PvP god roll is definitely going to be Snapshot Sights with either Vorpal Weapon or Box Breathing, maybe Celerity if you don't care about supers. But it is time to move on from there to the Summoner Legendary Energy Auto Rifle. Now this belongs to the recently buffed and performing very well 600 rounds per minute adaptive frame archetype. Now looking at the perk spawns here, we have the usual assortment of barrels and then ammo and magazine perks, kind of like always. I wish Bungie would introduce some new stuff to this. But then in that first perk slot, we actually finally have some stuff for PvE, mainly Overflow. So picking up Special or Heavy reloads this weapon to beyond normal capacity. And in a PvE environment where it is so easy to get drops of Special, like just put some finders on for your shotgun, for example, and it'll just be everywhere. And every time you walk over a brick and it picks up shotgun ammo, you go from normally a 42 round magazine to something like 80 or 90 rounds in a magazine. You can get to over 100 rounds in a magazine. I have the Gnawing Hunger with Overflow, and it belongs to the same exact archetype, and it functions very, very well, and this will be no different. But for more PvP-oriented stuff, I'm mainly looking at Moving Target, which is going to increase your movement speed while aiming down sights, allowing you to strafe side to side while shooting and hopefully outwitting your opponent. But Dynamic Sway Reduction, which is going to reduce the sway and recoil while you're shooting, is not a bad choice either. In that last perk slot, we have Rampage, all around decent perk for sure. We do have Elemental Capacitor, and I'm gonna mention it here because if you're using a Void subclass with this perk, it increases stability quite a bit. So especially on console, that's gonna let you turn this into a laser beam. Now it also has Dragonfly, great PvE perk, Rangefinder, great PvP perk, and then Celerity, not too sure about this honestly. So in terms of a PvE god roll, we actually have one this time. You're definitely looking for Overflow, and you want to combine it with either Rampage or maybe Dragonfly. Then for a PvP god roll, I think you're going for probably high caliber or ricochet rounds, and then you want definitely moving target, and then in that last perk slot, probably rangefinder, just to let you engage enemies from distances they aren't expecting, but you could also give that up for celerity or maybe rampage, maybe elemental capacitor, especially if you're on console. And you're specifically using a void subclass, of course. Alright, but moving on from there, the next weapon we're looking at is the Exile's Curse Legendary Energy Fusion Rifle. Now this belongs to the highest damaging, high impact frame archetype of fusions. Taking a look at the perks here, as usual, we have the normal assortment of options. Importantly, Liquid Coils is present to get even more damage, and that is a favorite of this archetype. However, that might fall off a little bit because Backup Plan was nerfed. In that first section of perks, we have the Utter PvP All-Star Firmly Planted. Increased accuracy, stability, and handling when firing crouched. And this perk is what turns these high-impact fusion rifles into basically sniper rifles. It lets you crouch, and all of your different pellets, essentially all of your different bolts, are going to be in a small little spread, and you're going to be able to body people from very long ranges. So that is definitely the perk you're going for here, in my opinion. And then in the second perk slot, well, honestly, there's some decent PvE stuff like multi-kill clip, disruption break, maybe even feeding frenzy, but nothing absolutely insane for PvP, like maybe snapshot sights, but actually this could be one of the better things to use with celerity, simply because the reduced flinch is going to matter quite a bit. You're probably, with a fusion rifle, going to get into a scenario while you're charging, you're being shot at, and you can't afford to be flinching off target. So going for firmly planted plus celerity, yeah, that's a viable option. So I think that's the PvP god roll, but if you do want something for PvE, you can actually look at Field Prep for more reserves and faster reloading when you're crouched. Combine that with Multi-Kill Clip, a PvE all-star which increases damage based on the number of kills before you reload. Now normally you'd like to pair this with Feeding Frenzy, but Field Prep giving you more reserve ammo, especially for a special weapon, and also increasing your reload, you just gotta crouch first, is not a bad consolation prize, to be honest. But it is time to move on to the last weapon we're looking at today, the Tomorrow's Answer Legendary Power Rocket Launcher. So, this weapon belongs to the High Impact Frame archetype, so it's going to be nearly max blast radius and lower velocity. Taking a look at the perks here, we have kind of the usual assortment of launches. In that second tier, we do have PvE All-Star Impact Casing to increase damage on direct hits. We also do have Black Powder, which is a PvP All-Star to get more blast radius. Then in that first perk slot, we have some great options. I'm mainly looking here at Tracking. Tracking is very, very good in both PvP and PvE. And then we do have Field Prep, which is a great perk for PvE. You just want as much reserve ammo as you can. Then in the second perk tier, things get really interesting. Normally you would have the all-star here of Cluster Bomb. Cluster Bomb is gonna increase the damage output, like literally the main thing you're usually looking for in PvE especially, but not bad in PvP either. You could also go with Snapshot Sights, especially when combined with Tracking, to have a weapon that's really good at just locking on, getting that shot off right away in a PvP environment. But it does have one of the brand new perks introduced last season, Clown Cartridge. Reloading this weapon randomly overfills it from reserves. Basically, that means that when you reload this weapon, it's going to get 2, maybe 3 rounds in a magazine, and that, for a rocket launcher, is disgusting. I'm very sad that you can't pair Clown Cartridge with Cluster Bomb, because if you could, this would be the best PvE rocket launcher in the game, period. It honestly still might be if you go for something like Impact Casing with Field Prep. plus Clown cartridge. This weapon, in terms of damage output, like shooting 3 or 2 times before needing to reload, is gonna make your DPS for a rocket launcher go through the roof. And so that is definitely the PvE god roll I think you're looking for. Now for PvP, like I said, probably tracking and then snapshot sights with black powder. It's pretty boring. A lot of rocket launchers can get that, but that's the PvP roll. And so guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed, found this informative, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKackis. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.